Friday is here. If you're one of the cool kids, you are in the chat right now. Twitch.tv/Major Spoilers. Watching this on the replay, we do this live every Friday, 4 o'clock p.m. Central Time, twitch.tv/Major Spoilers. Come hang out with us in the future, won't you? Finally, Friday is being brought to you this week by Major Spoilers VIP and Patreon members from around the world. You can show your support and hang out with a bunch of really cool people over at patreon.com/Major Spoilers. I can't believe it's Friday. It's finally Friday. We've got to a point where this week I had to deal with what felt like idiots every single day. I mean, thanks, Dave. I'm talking about some just dumb people who don't even know how to follow instructions. I'm talking about people that don't know that you're not supposed to make a right turn from the left lane. People who don't understand that a turn lane is not a go forward lane. People who don't know how to cross the street in a crosswalk and yet still expect everyone to stop for them on a dime the minute they just step out into busy traffic. People who can't follow simple directions. People who have been doing the same task for over a decade and still have to be told every day to do something that they should be routine by now. People who don't know how to follow simple directions. People that don't use common sense. People that rely on their friends to tell them information, and that information is often wrong. And then those people perpetuate the false story going forward. I gotta tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I've had it like way up to here. You can't even see my hand outside of the frame. It is so bad. And I don't know why suddenly I have run into this giant, what's the word I'm looking for? This giant moment in time where idiots have decided to come out of the woodwork and just make everyone's day horrible. I really wish I understood why, again, someone who's been doing a task for over 13 years, 14 years, probably 15 years, has been doing the same task every day, and yet for 15 years I've had to constantly tell this person, no, you need to do this. Why are you not doing this? Why are you not listening? Why are you still doing this? You know this is wrong, and you know it irritates everyone when you do it this way, yet every day you're doing it this way, even though for 15 years you've been told the right way to do it. And when you do it the right way, everyone's happy. Oh, surprise, everyone's happy when you do it the right way. And this takes us to part 3 of my teaching series that we've been doing. I did the thing that I hated about teaching, did the thing that I loved about teaching last week. This week, it's all about you and where you are failing. And I'm not pointing at you specifically. I'm talking about the royal you. What a vast majority of people do when... I think my chat is not updating or working. That's okay. What are the... whatever. We'll just have a chat. And when I say you, I mean the vast majority of you that, for whatever reason, think that, man, when I'm done with high school, I never have to learn anything again. I never have to pick up a book ever again. Those of you who finish your undergraduate degree and walk out going, thank God I'm done with that. I never have to learn anything ever again. I'm done with learning. Or even those people that finish their graduate degrees and were like, whoosh, glad I don't have to do that anymore. You maybe think I'm joking, but I hear this a lot from people, from students who are just like, I'm just trying to get out of here so I don't have to learn anymore. I'm tired of learning. At 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 years old, they're done with learning. And providing that we don't eliminate all of humanity by 2050, with the rate that medicine is going, at 25, you may still have another 75 years at this point of life, of a productive life, or at least, at least 60 years of good life ahead of you. And yet you don't want to learn anymore. You don't want to learn how to do something. You don't want to learn how to make your life better. And I think these are the people that end up not knowing how to make a turn correctly. These are the people that don't have common sense to do things the way everyone else does. These are the people that don't know how to do a simple web search. These are the people that fail time and time again and to irritate the rest of us. Now, I will admit, I got super mad this week. Really irritated. In fact, if you're over on our Discord server, I kind of went off, I think it was yesterday, about how I've had to deal with, in my words, idiots. Now, I know idiot has a IQ connotation to it, but just dumb people. And this week it built to a head where I was tired of it. Just common sense stuff that just boiled up there. But instead of being mad, I think what I'm really feeling is sorrow. Sadness building up to the point where I just can't deal with it anymore. Because it really is sad if you're someone who doesn't want to learn anymore, who's someone who doesn't want to be involved in growing your mind and expanding your mind any further than you have in college. And believe me, when I was in college, we were still using 3/4 inch tape to record our videos on. We had to wait, like 5 minutes for one image to download. And you didn't even know if it was going to be a good picture of a naked lady or a naked man. Because that's the way things went back in the early 90s. Today, we have so much more. In just the last 30 years, things have changed so much. 20 years. All right, 30 years. Things have changed so much, and if you're going to continue to thrive in the society and make a contribution to society, you have to learn, you have to adapt, you have to continue to expand your mind. And I think that's the biggest failing of education right now. If there is one giant failing of education, it is to impart upon you, when you are exiting high school or bachelor's degree or graduate school or whatever point you exit the educational system, if you are sitting there saying, man, I'm glad I don't ever have to learn anything ever again, we have failed you. And I hear that so much, and it makes me feel so sad that the education system fails people and fails the idea that learning is a lifelong mission. Learning is something that you should do and want to do for the rest of your life. And I don't know how to convey to people who are in this situation that you should never stop learning. I tell these guys this all the time when they're in a class that I teach, especially seniors. If they're in a senior class, I sit down and tell them, I'm like, look, you're going to learn more in the first year you are out in the real world than you will have learned in the 4 or 6 years or however long that you've been in college. Just because there's so much more out there that you need to absorb, and there's no way that we can teach you over the course of 124 hours for a college degree. And really in the major, it may only be something like, 40 hours in the major? There's only so much that we can teach you in that time to get you prepared to go out into the real world. So therefore, you're going to have to learn how to do all of this stuff yourself once you graduate, and have to learn how to do all these things yourself. And you should be excited about that. And I know that may just be me. It may just be me, because I know one of the things that annoys the crap out of my family is at night, when we're done with dinner and we're sitting at the couch, I will turn on YouTube on our Apple TV. I'll sit there and I'll turn on YouTube, and I will watch videos on woodworking. You know, how people are building things. I'll watch Bill Duran do his Prop Academy stuff, his prop building. I'll watch the 3D printing nerd to see what kind of really cool things that he's printing out this week. I'll watch, what's his name? Frank, is it Horworth, I think is his name? And the magnificent things that he builds. And I'll watch other crafters and other channels on how they do things. And yes, I even watch videos on video production, audio production, After Effects, things that I've written books on, just to see what other people are doing, just to see if there's anything else that can be gleaned from the stuff that they're sharing. Granted, I'm not bragging here, but a lot of the things I see, it's like, oh yeah, I wrote that tutorial 15 years ago. It's good to see that it's still getting some use. And it drives my family crazy, because they are like, well, I want to play Xbox, Dad, or I want to watch Naruto, Dad, or hey, Dad, I wanted to watch that Pokemon thing. And that's cool. But during my short period of time, I like to watch things that help me learn, help me know more, how to expand upon my capabilities. And I probably am never going to do any woodworking. But my God, I watch woodworking videos more than anything else. And I don't know why that is. Hold on just a second. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the chat. Sorry, guys. So if you're chatting amongst yourselves, that's great. I have no idea why it's not popping up for me or for you, because it should be popping up just like that. I will have to look into this. You see, that chat was there earlier. Should be working fine. So, I guess the thing that I want to get across is, I want you to understand that you can't stop learning. You're always going to have to be informed about something. How to do your job correctly, how to do your job better. Maybe you have a hobby or a craft that you want to be better at. Maybe you want to learn something new. Maybe you want to learn how to cook. Maybe you want to learn how to do woodworking. I would love to take a lathe class somewhere. But in our city, there's no, the university doesn't teach any courses on that. Just public courses. The the Recreation Commission doesn't do any of that. They do some woodworking things, but nothing dealing with lathes. Even the high school and the middle school don't do that. And I've contacted them and said, would you ever open a educational resource or a community older learner, adult learning class on how to do this stuff? And they're like, yeah, we would if we had enough interest. You're the only one that's ever shown any interest. And it's like, Here's what I want you guys to do. We're wrapping up the teaching segment. And here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to just get into your head that don't ever stop learning. Don't ever just give up and be glad when your educational time is done. And I know many of you are probably learning every day and learning something new every day, probably without realizing it. What I would like for you to do is move away from saying, I can't do that, or that is impossible, to I can do this, I can learn. Learning is going to make me a better person. Reading is going to make me a better person. Maybe we'll talk about books and some learning from books that can go about. And that's what I just want you guys to do. Never stop learning. Don't be an idiot. Don't be one of those people that are going to make everyone else's lives insufferable. Be someone that people want to turn to when they have a question because they know that you're the knowledgeable person. I want you to be that person that people are like, oh man, Chad over there, or Susan over there, is the smartest person I know, because they're always learning something. That's what I want from you, and I think that's what I want. Well, it's not what I think. I know I want that for every student that I teach. I know it's a big ask. I think you guys can do this too. I think maybe next week, unless you guys want to use the Discord channel and tell me what's a topic that we could talk about next week, you might want to talk about books. And I did read an interesting book the other day. I think this is a couple of years old. How to Teach Adults. Teaching Adults, or the Adult Learner. Because once we do get past a certain age, we do kind of stop. What is the phrase? I don't want to say we stop learning. And I don't want to say that we stop growing the channels in our brains that make it harder for us to learn. But there is that process that when we don't use those muscles, we lose those muscles. And I think parts of our brain that are used to reading and studying and learning and distilling information and making use of that information, I think we lose some of that. And I want to talk about maybe books next week and how books are just, I love books right now. Even though they're may not be in a physical form, I'm really enjoying doing a lot of, we'll put in quotes, reading. I got in trouble. My wife went to go pick up the kids, and here's another example of idiots. They closed the two main roads to get to my youngest son's summer program. They didn't put up any detour signs. They didn't put up any indicators that the road was going to be closed further than what it was 2 days ago, when you could actually get through. And now they have, these guys are idiots. Just common sense. Put a detour sign. Tell people how to get around. Yesterday when I went to go pick up my kid, it took me an extra 20 minutes to navigate through these side roads to figure out which roads were open and which roads were closed. I think that was part of my rant from yesterday. Anyway, let us jump to some news. Let me stop that one. I didn't know they could play at the same time. Look, I'm learning something every day. Oh, loop. Come on. Loop, loop, loop. There we go. Hey, Sinister Infant, thanks for following. I know that part's working. I don't know why the chat's not working. So if you guys are chatting, then great. Let me read some stuff that's popped up over here in the Discord. Yes, we do have a Discord server. There's a link over at majorspoilers.com that you can go check out. You can hang out in the Finally Friday channels. Jarmo says, yes, speaking of learning, I coded my first working game on Unity in C Sharp this week. I'm 39 years old. Good job, Jarmo. Jimmy says, books seem like it would be a solid topic for next week. I have trouble getting through nonfiction these days, as most of my life is nonfiction, so I prefer to read something lighter and more entertaining. Congratulations, Jarmo. That's fantastic. Never too late to get a good start. Jarmo says, it's actually perfect. Stan Lee was 39 when he wrote Fantastic Four #1. Let me reply to my wife before I get into any more trouble. Let's turn to the comic book world here, and let's talk about the Swamp Thing. This is probably something you guys have heard a lot of over the last couple of days, in that Warner Brothers, the streaming service, has canceled, well, shouldn't say Warner Brothers, but it's Warner Brothers DC Universe has canceled a new season of the Swamp Thing, the second season of Swamp Thing. Before the first season, I mean, the first season just dropped, what, last Friday? Today? I forget when it is. It was last Friday. First episode drops, and then they announced, hey, we've canceled season 2, so don't get too invested. And a lot of people instantly turned and said, oh, this is because the show's not good. This is because the executives are nervous. This is because Warner Brothers is getting ready to launch their own streaming service and they want to roll the DC Universe or the DC Universe on. That's not DC Universe Online, that's the game. But they want to roll all of that into a new Warner Brothers streaming service that's supposed to launch in 2020. And some of that may be true. I haven't had a chance to watch Swamp Thing, but a lot of people said it's pretty horrific. Horror, not just, like a disaster. You can't watch it. But then we found out maybe the real reason why the season was cut from 13 episodes to 10 episodes, and then why the next season was canceled altogether. Turns out Swamp Thing was being filmed in North Carolina, and North Carolina had promised DC a huge, not tax incentive, but essentially a huge grant. Something to the tune of, I want to say $50 million is what they were going to give, the state of North Carolina was going to give to Warner Brothers and other studios that were shooting there. And North Carolina has been a center of production for a long time. I shouldn't say a center, but it has been a hub of production for a long time. I mean, many of you may remember Dawson's Creek from years ago, and Dawson's Creek was filmed in North Carolina. And so Warner Brothers is like, yeah, we'll take the $50 million. We'll bring Swamp Thing to you. We'll shoot everything there. We had an estimate that it was going to cost us somewhere in the neighborhoods of $80 million or more to do this show. And then somebody, don't know who, somebody screwed up. Somebody didn't know how to do maths. Somebody, probably an idiot, suddenly realized, oh, wait, we don't have all this money to give Warner Brothers. Instead of the $50 million that we promised, we only got $13 million to give to Warner Brothers. And can you imagine how that is? Suddenly you're expecting $50 million so you can do this production. You've got, a 20-week schedule planned out. And then suddenly you're told, oh no, you don't even have half the budget you had before. You have about a third of the budget that you originally had before. So production had to stop. They had to figure out how they were going to get this money. This was not something that Warner Brothers, my understanding, that Warner Brothers wanted to spend a huge amount of money on, but if they were getting $50 million from North Carolina, they could add a little bit more production value and a little bit more money into each episode. They didn't even get that. Imagine how that must be for the cast and the crew and everyone involved in this production. I think that's pretty sad that you're promised something and then it's not delivered. I'm used to that kind of, I guess. I think we probably all are. Jimmy says, even though they had zero plans to make a season 2, they're guaranteeing that some segment of their fan base won't even bother tuning in, or signing up. Because apparently it sends the message that Warner Brothers doesn't care about this. And that's really not what's going on. It's not that Warner Brothers doesn't care about it. It's that we don't have the money to do it. And we're already stretched thin trying to do everything else that we're trying to do. Stargirl is coming up. Doom Patrol has been given a second season. The Titans has been given a second season. We don't know what's going on with anything with the Warner Brothers streaming service. Here's my prediction. A lot of people were asking me last night, hey, Stephen, did you sign up for the DC streaming service? And yes, I did. First day that it became available, I signed up for the entire year. I probably will sign up for the second year. Not only do you get the original shows, but you've got the comic books, the digital comics that you have access to. Now, it's not all the digital comics, but it's a large growing library. Plus, you have access to all of the other Warner Brothers movies, the DC movies and TV shows and that kind of stuff that they have up there. So it's a pretty good deal. My prediction is that as costs continue to grow for a lot of other services, I guess word on the street is that maybe the Warner Brothers streaming service might be somewhere between $14 and $15, I think. As more people are jumping on this streaming bandwagon, Disney, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, Apple, Warner Brothers, who else? NBC is launching their own streaming service. Everybody's going streaming, right? Everybody's going to try to get your dollars. And I would bet for those of you who have more than 4 streaming services that you're signed up to right now, my guess is you are probably paying as close to or more than your cable bill. And if you are, my goodness, that's what the networks want. They want all of your money. They want to make sure that you're somehow paying more than a normal cable bill would be. So be careful with that as you move forward. And I know some people have said, hey, as soon as Disney Plus rolls out, we're dropping Netflix, or we're dropping Amazon, or whatever it may be. My understanding is that the Warner Brothers streaming service will also incorporate HBO and Cinemax perhaps in the future. So there's some stuff that you can take to the bank. But here's the next thing that's going to happen. And this is a wild prediction from me. But I have a feeling that we're going to see even more trouble in Hollywood sometime in the next 5 years. And it's going to be a big, big deal. And you're going to have to watch for the signs, and you're going to have to be ready to take advantage of certain situations that may be coming. And again, this is not doom and gloom kind of stuff. But we're already seeing productions pull out of Atlanta, out of Georgia. Probably now that North Carolina isn't fulfilling their promises, people pulling out of North Carolina. There has been a big cry for years for people to bring production back to California. And that would be great if they did bring more production back into California. I know there's a lot of people that were put out of work when the Fox-Disney deal went through, and Disney fired a bunch of 5,000 employees, 5,000 plus. But still, production is being done up in Canada, very cheaply in Canada. That's where all your CW shows are being done. And that's great. I have no problem with that. However, this is I'll say one political thing here, so be prepared for that. When it comes to the current administration, we see this threat of tariffs being put on Mexico if they don't stop this caravan of immigrants coming into the United States. If they don't do something, the administration has said, or the president has said specifically, that he's going to start imposing tariffs 5% per month, capping up at 25% in October. He's already put incredible tariffs on China and China goods and goods coming from China, and that is not helping out the economy. And I'm sure the tariffs that are going to be placed on Mexico will also be passed on to us, the customers. At some point, I just have this feeling that the administration is going to say, hey, we're also going to put a tariff on everything up in Canada as well. And I don't know how these kinds of things work, but it wouldn't surprise me if the cost of doing production outside of the United States doesn't increase because of tariffs. At which point, everything will come back to California. That's going to be the only way they're going to get stuff done, or Pacific Northwest, or whatever it may be. The Writers Guild strike, the WGA strike, I think it's not really a strike, but the negotiations with the agents and the WGA is still ongoing, and I think that that's going to be resolved soon, hopefully. But the next one coming up are the Teamsters. And if the Teamsters go on strike, Hollywood is going to be shut down to the point where it's probably going to be even worse because than the writers' strike from, 5-10 years ago, whatever that was. Only because if Hollywood can't go outside of California to do production because it's going to cost too much, look at North Carolina, or you've got problems like Atlanta, or you may perhaps have additional taxes put on you for doing production outside of the United States. Oh man, Hollywood and the rest of the entertainment industry is going to be screwed. Potentially for have repercussions up to 5 years if you can't get anything done. So here is what I'm thinking you need to do. If you have an IP of any shape or size, if you have the means of production, if you're doing something independently, you are going to thrive in the next 10 years. I think Major Spoilers, even though we're getting ready to hit birthday 13 here in a couple of weeks, I think that indie creators are about to thrive. I think indie creators are going to suddenly have a huge, oh yeah, there's somebody finally popping up. I think there's going to be a huge outpouring of viewership from mainstream media. I don't really like that name, but that's what we're going to call it, into indie productions that are on networks like Netflix and Disney Plus and other places that these networks don't have to pay money to have the production done. They're going to be buying from indie content creators. And that means if they can go and get an animation off your IP, if they can go and get a book off of your IP, if they can get something done, a streaming series off of your IP that you're doing yourself, and they can just plug it into their system, I think you're going to be making a lot of money. So, while this is a pretty wild prediction, you better start learning the business and the ins and outs of dealing with agents and people who want to buy your content, because I really think sometime in the next 5 to 6 years, you being a solid indie creator is what's going to make Hollywood come dumping money on your door. I don't know. Those are just some thoughts. Suddenly, as the show ends, now the chat starts running. That's really weird. Workers control the means of production. Well, I don't know if I would go that far, but everyone here at Major Spoilers works really hard, and we control the means of production. We hopefully are providing content that you enjoy week after week, or at least I hope you're enjoying week after week and day after day. Holy cow, we had 3 shows drop today. Finally Friday that you're watching now. We had the Legion Clubhouse, which is our Legion of Superheroes show, and we had our Top 5 show. Top 5 places to take a nap, I think, is the topic this week. We've got Critical Hit tomorrow, Wayne's Comics podcast. Just in 3 days, you're getting 5 shows. Plus a streaming show tomorrow. We'll be streaming back here on twitch.tv/Major Spoilers. I think at 2 o'clock p.m. Central Time. I may have been wrangled into taking a kid or kids to see a Pikachu movie tomorrow, so that may cut into that. I'll let you know if I can't do that stream. But we're going to be doing a game stream tomorrow, some more Assassin's Creed Odyssey. If you're enjoying what we do, which I hope you do, if you enjoy what we do, and we're always trying to learn so we can be better, so we can deliver more for you and better for you, how about you give us a little bit of support? How about you head to patreon.com/Major Spoilers. I'm not asking you to sign up right now, but I want you to just take a look at what we're trying to do. Take a look at some of the goals that we have achieved. Look at some of the things that you can get if you become a patron. And then think about all the work that we're putting into the shows that you enjoy, or the articles that you read on our website, or the live streams that you're watching. And if it's worth $5 a month to you, then sign up. Get access to some really cool things. And we can show Hollywood and we can show big business that, hey, indie creators are where it's at. We can do that with your help at patreon.com/Major Spoilers. I'm glad you're loving Major Spoilers. But I think that's where we're going to end Finally Friday today. Thank you so much, everyone, for being part of the show and everything that we do at Major Spoilers. And we're going to be back again next week. Maybe we're going to be talking about books. Jimmy thinks books might be a good topic. So until then, take care. Be nice to one another. I'm going to start a new phrase, I think. I know a lot of people are like, stay hydrated, Stephen, from my morning stream shows. I think I'm going to do a new one now, and I want you to think about this. It's very simple. Do good, be good. Do good, be good. Something else I've been thinking a lot about over the last 30 years, and something that came to a head last weekend when I was out of town. But do good, be good, everyone. And we will talk with you next time when it's finally Friday. Bye-bye. Look at all those fantastic names scrolling by. So many fantastic people supporting us. And these are just these aren't all of the people. These aren't all of our patrons. This is just the $5 and higher. There's a bunch of $1 and $2 patrons. And people that don't want to even want any things. Let's see your name on here next quarter. Huh? You guys are all wonderful. Love you all. I'm glad the chat started working as soon as the show quit. Because, you know, that's how it always goes with me. Come in to try to make a point, and then technology doesn't want to work. This may have been a Twitch issue. Who knows? Take care, everybody.